My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome back. I have come to believe that the best thing a human being can do for themselves, including me, is to get out of our own way, get out of our own heads, rewrite our story, and let us or allow us to step into the version that God created. I truly believe that when I was born as a child, I was the most ambitious. And then life happened. And then I started to believe things. And then I started to tell myself stories. And then I started to take risks or not take risks. I believe that I'm where I am because of the stories I've been telling myself for the longest time. And what I had to accept at one point is that if I don't like where I am, I need to change the story, or I need to change the way that I have been going around life. I'm excited for today's conversation because Nancy is changing lives through nature. I don't want to preempt Nancy because her work was shocking to me when I heard it. Like how powerful nature can be. Now, I come from Uganda and everything is green. And when my husband says, let's go in nature, I'm like, what do you mean? Let's go to that forest. I'm like, what are you going to do in the forest? Like, it's just beautiful to see green. And I'm like, yeah, just go through the window and see the green. He doesn't understand why I don't have the same gratitude for nature as he does. But to think that nature can change my life, okay, that's new. And that is why Nancy is here. How could nature change your life? How could nature help you step into the best version of yourself? How could nature help you get grounded into your authenticity? There's so many things that Nancy is very good at. I don't want to hold the microphone for her. Nancy, I would love for you to tell the listener exactly what you do.
Yes, thank you so much, Prima, for having me. And number one, we are nature. We are nature. And that's why when we go to nature, nature is our welcoming home. We feel good and at ease at that. But I help you rediscover your true self by connecting with the natural world, which we just discussed, nature, bringing peace back into your life, allowing all the pieces of your authentic self to come together and for you to let go of what no longer serves you, allowing you to live always where you were meant to be, which is from the inside out. We think we are living out here, but we are living in here, and we look to solve our problems on the outside. You have all the answers in here, but until you can quiet that mind, quiet the mind and feel and hear, and that's what nature does. You don't have to go into the forest. You can be in a city, sit under a tree, hear the water in the city park, the bushes and flowers all around you. Just connect with life, natural life. And you're going to feel your mind and your nervous system and your emotional well-being calm so you can hear your true voice within speaking.
Wow. I want to explain to you what I think you do, and I want you to say, no, oh my God, that's not what I do. So the other day, someone came on the show and he said to me, Prima, I'm a channel. And I said, okay, what does that mean? Because I don't understand what a channel is. And they said, I help people listen to themselves. And I'm like, what? It's like I help people quiet their minds so they can listen to themselves. And I'm like, is that a thing? And it's like, I've done this work for years. And I'm like, okay, let's rewind. What is happening for people for them to come and pay you to listen to that? Like, I thought it was crazy. And so he said, you know what, Prima, our minds are like we're in the middle of New York City sometimes, and we're just going, like our minds are so noisy. The world has made it so that we are always processing endless information. And he said to me, people are truly incapable of listening to themselves because of the so much noise that exists. And I get paid to be still and to connect with their soul and listen.
Yeah.
It is the first time I realized that instinct is not common, or not
No.
everybody has the same connection to the instinct. I was naturally born with instinct, and I think I just know, but I didn't imagine that this wasn't available for other people anymore, or not as close to other people. And he said to me, "You see, Prima, people come to me when they are trying to make life decisions, like they want to get married, but they're not sure, or they want to leave their marriage, or they're not sure, or they just want to make another change in their life. It's a big change, but they are crowded with noise and they do not know that their decision is the right one. And when I hear about your work and read about your work, I think about this person who is a channel, and I'm thinking that nature is doing the same thing, only empowering us to channel our own messages. Tell me,
Right.
what is 1 to 100? How wrong am I about your work?
No, you're pretty much almost close to 100, because what happens when you step on that trail, again, because so it's a little quote, and it's by Mary Davis, and it says, "A walk in nature walks the soul back home." And that's what it does. Nature walks your soul, your authentic self, back home, quiets everything so you can connect with your authentic self, which is inside. It calms all the chaotic noise that's going on. And all the chaotic noise that goes on causes your worrying, which turns into anxiety and depression and stress and panic attacks, but not when you step on the ground of nature. And I like to call it's recycling. All those negative thoughts that are going through you are recycled through the earth as you touch your feet on the ground. And when it recycles, it comes through as positivity. Let me just tell you something. Neuroscientists have found that 95, I could not believe this, 95% of our thoughts are from yesterday. That means from the past. And of that, 80% are negative. That means lack, fear-based insecurity, because we're living in the egoic mind. We identify with the egoic mind of self-doubt, lack of self-acceptance, lack of self-love, lack of worthiness. And it is almost like I just did a post the other day and said, we are our own worst bullies. We bully ourselves every single day with the way we talk to each other. So when you go to nature, it's like a melting away. It's like the candle, just the wax is just slowly melting that candle, and you're becoming who you are, your true self, and you actually can see that. And you start feeling things because all those senses, sight, sound, smell, touch, all that's coming. And you're noticing that because you're slowing down. Look, social media is great, all technology is great, but we don't shut it off enough. We don't quiet the mind. And the ego likes the mind not being quiet because the ego can't survive unless you're living in a state of fear. So that means you are living on a roller coaster of an emotional, fear-based craziness every single day. So in order to find that calm, that joy, that peace and happiness, it's stepping away from all that noise.
Wow. 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 Why don't you tell us your story? How did you discover the magic of nature? I'm very curious.
So let me tell you, I have to go back to the age of 10 for this, so I will not go too in the weeds of it. But so my journey started at 10. I was the youngest of four and lived with my parents, but my mom suffered from depression. And I was her therapist, basically. Every day would sit down and she would just vent and let all her emotions, and anybody else that knows that somebody's depressed, is it's a roller coaster. Every day, you don't know what that person is going to be like. And I also had to learn how to become an empath because of that. to keep everything in the household in balance. So what I did and what my savior was being in nature. I rode my bike, I walked in the woods, I climbed trees. I never felt any uncomfort. And I'm like, okay, 10 years old, I sit down, my mother tells me her problems. Doesn't everybody do that? I didn't know it was not normal, at that age. But when I looked to nature, it kept me whole. It kept me in that child-like state of being curious and wanting to know more and having fun. Until I reached 40, I did not realize the connection that my journey from becoming a holistic wellness coach started when I was 10. I was meant for this, and that was sort of grooming me. I don't look at it. People always say, well, weren't you upset with your mother for what happened? And the answer is no. Because let me tell you, my mother ended up suffering from something that happened to her as a child, and she carried with this for years until she was 84 years old. And I thought, okay, if people are carrying their negative experiences and emotional baggage for that long and suffering, how can I combine something with obviously doing work on healing, subconscious work, all that with nature? And that was my tool, was remembering what nature did for me at that young age. So I now take women out on guided hikes. I do retreats. I have one in October here in Massachusetts. It's the Inner Nature Journey Retreat. It's all about going within, but connecting with nature so we can connect with ourself, our authentic self.
When did you connect the dots between everything and nature? I'm sure as a child, you didn't really think about nature as healing. I'm wondering,
No,
when did you connect the dots to, oh my God, all this while it was nature?
at 40 years old, because I was stuck in that emotional field, fear-based insecurities. I didn't feel that I looked good enough. I had no sense of self. I felt unworthy. I didn't feel like I was smart enough. I had no love for myself. And I started doing work by going into nature. I always had nature part of me, as you said, but I never connected it. But I started hiking and being out in nature on a regular basis, once to twice a week. And I noticed all the calming, how I felt good about who I was. I wasn't talking negative to myself, no self-talk. I felt really good, and I started connecting with my inner source, my authentic self, that soul, the heart center, call it what you want. And that's when I started looking into building this business, which did not happen, I will tell you, until actually 4 years ago. I went to school for it to become an integrative nutritionist because I first started working on nutrition, things like that. I also am a Reiki practitioner, so I go into a lot of the spiritual side and the modalities of healing through mindfulness. I went back to school to learn about psychology, the social family network, all that, to make sure I had enough information. And everything comes back to nature connection
Wow.
for
Wow.
healing. I'm empowered
I
and
understand.
motivated.
Yeah, I understand when someone tell me exactly the signs and symptoms that I need your work. I've written overwhelm, stress, anxiety, depression, and the constant state of being in fear or low frequency. Is there anything else you want to add to that for me to know that, you know what, Nancy? Your work is for me, or as the premise of this podcast is, at the end, I want the listener to share this with one human being that they would love to bless with the recording because of how specific it is to them. So can you help me add on to who is this work perfect for? I know you work with women, but can you tell us what kind of caliber of a woman is going to find your work life changing for them?
So you're the woman that looks in the mirror,
Hmm.
okay, and you don't like what you see. You're
Hmm.
comparing yourself to others continually,
Hmm.
okay? But I'm going to tell you something. You don't see yourself. because you're too focused on that negativeness. Okay. You see someone who isn't enough, who's not good enough, who doesn't love herself, who doesn't feel worthy, and you are aching to become confident, self-accepting, empowered, and up-level your life. You know that you're meant for more, but you can't get out of your head. You have dreams and desires, but you're suffering within. You're wearing a mask. People don't know what you're going through because you wear a mask every single day and disguise the crumbling that's going on within. And you have gifts. You have gifts, but it's about letting go of that emotional roller coaster, letting go of the jealousy, the anger, because all this is fear-based and it's all judgment. Letting go of all of this because it's something that needs to heal within you. You know there's a piece missing. You see your goal, but you can't reach it because you keep feeding into the mind who tells you that you cannot reach that you're not good enough, not smart enough. This other person's better.
I love what you said when you said the meant for more person, because we so know ourselves. I'm meant for no, this is not it. I know there is something bigger. There is a very crazy amount of clarity that sits in my heart, and it's always screaming, you are meant for more. So when you said meant for more, I was like, yes, that's definitely something, because there is something which is always screaming in my heart that says I'm meant for more. But I like how you described it as well. You look in the mirror and you don't like the person you see. I love that. Am I right to say your work is specifically for women, or is it?
It is specifically. Prima, I've worked with men before, but I focus specifically on women now, just because I know my own inner journey that I've had. And I just want to tell you something, a moment that happened to me when I was 40. I was sitting behind my desk at work and I was typing, and a voice came to me, Prima, saying exactly that. You are meant for more.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, did I just hear that? Like, did somebody say that to me? But it was a message that I heard from here, from my authentic self saying, Nancy, do the work on yourself because you are meant to share your gift with the world, just as others have gifts to share. We are here to empower one another. So what you learn about yourself, you can empower another woman. What I can teach you, you become that superwoman that you are meant to be, and you can uplift everyone's life. We are one in this whole universe, the world. Let's bring us all together and feel empowered. Like the changes that we can make within ourselves, but as a collective is incredible.
I love it. I know that you have a signature process. Obviously, you've been doing this for a while, and you take people from that chaotic world to a place where you can be still, where you can listen. It is so beautiful because I don't think I'm at the optimal, but I have a chance, or I am lucky to listen to like downloads, clear messages, and I haven't trained to be a channel. I haven't done anything. I think if I go and certify myself, I'll be shocked at what I can do, because I have this innate ability to just quiet my mind and go, wow, every morning something occurs in my mind and I run to my desk and write it down, because it's like a clear step, a clear answer. And so I can't wait for you to kind of take me through this framework. And I can tell you I don't have a framework for this clarity. I wish I had. If I had a framework, I probably would have 10x more clarity. And so I really can't wait. Why don't you take us through that? What does that look like, moving from chaos, fear, anxiety, fear to nature has calmed me down, and now I'm listening to myself, and the answers have been here all along. But
So
now,
let me just tell you, Prima, that first, when you connect with nature, you become more creative, more inspired, more energy. Even if you're tired, if people are like, I'm too tired to do anything. But guess what? When you actually do something and move, you actually produce more energy. I start my morning, every morning, with an 11-minute meditation to set my day up. for success, to calm my entire being. So whatever happens to you, whatever actually is thrown at me, which things are thrown at you left and right throughout the day with anybody's life, no matter how good it is, you're able to handle it. You don't react to what is going on because in order to keep yourself calm, you don't feed into this stress. So my work, I take you through your current story, because the story that you are telling yourself, it's not your real story. It is a story that you told yourself from an experience or experiences as a child. You've held on to that belief system, which is false. You've taken your values from that. So I show you where those holes are in your story by asking the right questions. And then I help you create a new belief system based on who you are today through the work that we do, and let go of what no longer serves you. Let go of those old values, write new ones with who you are becoming. You're going to learn how to detach from that egoic mind. That is the biggest piece, is to recognize what you are saying in your mind, all that self-doubt, I'm not good enough, I don't have a big enough house, I don't make enough money, comparing yourself to other people, X, Y, and Z, it goes on and on. That is you repeating it every single day. You're doing that. So learning to step back and recognize when you're listening to your ego, and instead of taking all that sense of lack and fear, to change it and say, I am worthy. I am not my ego mind. I am a beautiful, gifted person ready to live her life as her authentic self. And it's huge about that. The ego is intense. But you're going to, again, be left feeling empowered with a sense of freedom, because you've just clipped off all that baggage that you've been carrying around, which again is all those insecurities. You're going to connect with nature, bringing calm to your mind, body, and emotional well-being. Nature allows you to connect with your true self by grounding and recycling, like I said before, those negative thoughts into positivity. And it shows you your true identity. When you are able to see that true identity, and working with me, when you see that, you're going to wonder, how did I ever believe this garbage that I've been feeding myself for so many years? How did I identify with that mind? Do you know why? Because you have been drinking the Kool-Aid that society has fed you, or believed what you made up, that story from that experience. But that is not you.
Wow. I wonder though, I'm going to kind of try and recap what you've said, and I want you to tell me where I have it wrong, because I feel like I'm missing a piece.
Sure.
So the first step in your process is to recognize the story that you're telling yourself today.
Yes. Right.
Second step is create a new story, or a new set of habits, a new set of beliefs. Like, we have to change the story and tell ourselves a new story. The third one is learning to release the ego. Or is this, so we are releasing the ego, getting into the affirmations and stepping into nature. But I wonder if these are the tools to build the new belief system, or if these are tools to rewrite the new story instead of being bullet points as I captured them.
It is the tools that I take you through to build the new story. But the second step is actually poking the holes so you can see. So you tell me your current story, what your belief system is, what you tell yourself. We dissect that, or filter through it, to find the holes of those untruths by asking the right questions. And then you start creating a new belief system, not the one that you took from that story, not the one that you're believing from society, who tells you what you need, who you are, how you're supposed to be in order to be happy and fulfilled. And that, in part of that belief system, is your values. What are your values? We do take values from our parents at a younger age, and you may keep some of those, but many of the values change as you progress and grow in your life. So it's a whole reflection. It's all about reflection and looking.
I'm just wondering though, how we get to the story part. Are we getting to the story part based on
The new story or the old, or the old?
I'm just wondering because when I have followed this kind of work, it's more like, where do you want to be? Okay. And then where are you right now? And from there, we'll probably have the story, which is like, okay, there is a gap, and maybe this gap is the stories you've been telling yourself. I'm just wondering, in your part or in your process, how we are getting to the story. Is it because of me being constantly overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, and just unhappy? Are those feelings of low frequency and worthiness, just anxious, I'm not good enough? Is this where you're coming from to say, all right, Prima, let's pause? What is the story behind all of this? Is that kind of how it works? Or
Yes,
are
that's
you getting the
exactly it.
story from another angle?
Yeah, that is it. So getting what I call the root, to the root cause of what is the issue. Because something happened back in your childhood and you have been carrying that wound. You can call it suffering, a wound, and we are looking to heal that wound, because without healing that, you cannot progress to your authentic self. You're not living authentically unless you start healing that.
Okay. Okay, amazing. Let me try again. So I come to you and I have all this baggage. And you're like, Prima, okay, the anxiety is not the anxiety. The unworthiness is not that. The stress is not the stress. Let's get to the bottom of this. And so now you
Yes.
realize I have a story I've been telling myself. And you're like, all right, Prima, what's the story that you want? I want the story of this. All right. So between this story and this story, I think there is a gap. I have this story, I'm stuck in this story. I want this story, but I can't seem to get myself to tell the other story. And so this is the gap that you're helping me when you heal trauma, belief systems, release ego, get some affirmations in, get your values. There are all these things which are going to help you bridge the gap between the story and the story we want. There's all this blockage. And so what Nancy has are the tools to break all these barriers and kind of find yourself in a way where you can actually begin saying, okay, this is the story that I want to tell right now. Once you're there, you then have to meet your authentic self. And I am hoping this is where the nature comes in. So Nancy, that's where I am. What am I missing? And what can you help me to understand better? I'm in class, like that's what I've understood.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So this is right. This is a story you have been telling yourself, okay? You may want to be here, but that's where your authentic self is, on that new story. So we have to go through and remove those blocks, which means healing. Okay. And I'm glad you used the word block, because it's energy. We're all energy. You know that, right? We're all energy, and we have blocks. Every time what we do, and I don't know how to use the term, it's almost like a pump in the hospital. You see it going up and down for people to breathe. This is what happens. An experience comes in, we don't want to feel it. We keep pushing it down. So there are layers and layers of blocks that are in there. We need to remove those blocks from your old story, all that in between, to get to your new story. But Prima, nature starts right away. It starts as soon as you start telling me your story, whether we are doing this through Zoom or we're in person here in the United States, in Massachusetts, you are connecting with nature, because the more you go out, the more you're going to remember about your story, and you're going to see your new story, where you belong, who you really are, what you can do with that new story.
Okay. So there's a story I want. There's a story I am holding. There's endless masks and blocks that are stopping me from getting to the new story. And your work is clearing these. And as soon as I can, I have to step into nature, because the more I step into nature, the closer I can get to this story. Tell me more about the nature. Am I walking with my bare feet? Am I going with shoes? Give me that experience of nature, because I have nature, but I don't know how to use it. How do I?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can go in. So I'm just going to tell you what I do. So when I go into nature,
Mm,
I have quiet. It's
mm,
quiet. Like sometimes people go in with music, stuff like that. It's all about reflecting, having peace. So you can carry your phone for safety. I highly recommend it, but I recommend it being like on the mute, or the silence. So it will just vibrate. And you're walking in nature. You're finding a brook or any water source. You're
mm,
taking time to sit there. I
mm,
like to close my eyes. I highly recommend that you close your eyes. And it's about feeling what's going on within you. People don't feel, they don't even recognize senses that are going through the body. Our body is talking to us every single day.
mm,
So when you're disconnecting from the mind, you can start hearing your body and what it is saying to you.
mm,
And it's connecting you again with your soul, your heart center.
mm,
I take my shoes off when I usually reach the summit of a mountain to
mm,
ground myself with the energy, to rejuvenate myself.
mm,
I recommend hugging a tree. Trees give off a calming chemical called phytoncides. Just even being surrounded by trees, it is a calming.
mm,
And when you're out there, I actually have a journal that I put together. It's empower, connecting with your inner power, and it's all about steps that you can do in nature, and
mm,
then writing down what is your feeling, what is going on, what is coming up. So all this starts processing through you as you are in nature, grounding yourself, listening to the water, hugging the tree, listening to the birds.
mm,
It may seem like, okay, this doesn't seem like it's going to work. It works because, again, this is where you belong. This is your home. When
mm,
everything is calm, that's when you can listen or hear yourself and hear those emotions, those good, positive, uplifting, empowering emotions that tell you, Prima, it is time for you to move to the next step. Stop
mm,
repeating your old story that's in the past. That's not who you are. You are meant to be here.
mm,
Let's start taking those steps to be here and
mm.
become the person that you're meant to be.
I like it. I've now thought about it. I've been in nature for the longest time, but I have been in nature so subconsciously that I didn't appreciate what effect it has on me. We have a joke in my home. My husband calls me a type A, and he calls himself a type B. And he says, Prima, the house could be on fire and you find a way to be asleep. And I say, because life is supposed to be peaceful and I don't have to worry about the next minute and tomorrow and the next year because I live in the moment. And he's quite shocked because we can be in the same house, same problems, same power cuts, and I will always just be somehow grounded. And it's like, how do you never get concerned about these things? And I'm like, what am I going to do about power which has disappeared? Like, what is going to happen when I stress about it? But really, when I look back, I have been in like the woods and stuff all of my life. So I think somehow that really helps. And now I look at me and I look at my husband, I'm like, oh, okay. So really he hasn't been to these things which I have been to. And this is why for him, everything can really be like a source of stress and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Wow. I love what you said about you go in nature and you do all of these things. And I hope that by the end of the discussion, we will tell people where to find the journal because I think that it could be very empowering to just not go
Yeah.
in nature, but to know exactly what to do once you're in nature. So, like, how do you even make the most out of it. There is a point I picked out, which is the affirmation, because I don't do affirmations. And I get confused when people say I am beautiful, I am that. I'm like, is it the saying or the belief that you are? Help me there, because I'm not familiar with affirmations, and and how can someone probably say, I have a red eye? I'm like, really? Help me there. Like, is it the affirmation or is it the belief of it? I have seen people with like vision boards, and I wonder if it's the vision board as much as it is the belief that you can actually do that thing. Help me there, because I struggle to say things, because if I don't believe them, for me in my head, it doesn't matter. But I know what I just don't know what I don't know.
100% Prima. And let me just say, when we live unconsciously, and that is a big issue, that we don't actually live consciously. Living consciously is like right now, you and I talking, I'm conscious, you are a very conscious person. Again, you let things roll, you don't worry about them because you don't have control. And that's what we try to do. We try to control everything because we think if we control it, nothing's going to happen. That's not true. Doesn't work, does it? Nope. And what happens to us in life is something, all of these things that happen are for us to grow. Without these little hiccups, as I like to call them, we would never grow. And when you're in nature, you're in the now, you are conscious, you notice everything, you're more present. The affirmations, and I love what you said, if you don't believe, and that is key. You can say to yourself, look in the mirror and say, I am beautiful. I am beautiful. If it is not coming from the heart center, you're never going to believe it. If you don't feel it, it's never going to be, because you're saying it and you're up here when you're saying it. It has to be a belief. That's why for me, what I recommend is when you are out in nature, when you are present in any moment, when you take a moment to pause, even if you're in the car at a stoplight, okay, sitting here, closing your eyes just even for 30 seconds and feeling and telling yourself, I am worthy, but feel it. Feel it. You can't say it unless you feel it. So I can, right? So how can it be true if you don't feel it? It's only words, right? So the more.
But then, if I'm just wondering if I am just in this state of depression, anxiety, I feel unworthy, I probably don't believe most things that I want to have. So if the news story is Prima, for example, I want this podcast to be the greatest and biggest thing that is changing lives. I have a big vision, but I also have the belief. But then I wonder if I didn't have the belief and I was looking for that in the affirmation, because I don't affirm to this, but I truly believe that I will do it. And I don't affirm to it because I just believe that the how does not belong to me. But I wonder if somebody was struggling with the belief that they are worthy, or they can get that house, or whatever the thing is, and they're in the process of wanting to tell themselves a new story, and they're probably using affirmation as a tool to help them get there. How do we make sure they're feeling it, or how do we make sure they're believing it? I don't know. What's the magic there?
It is. And you see, so Prima, you see that vision, you believe it. That's key.
Yeah.
You believe it. You feel that because you are connected with your heart center and you need to be connected. That's why we start immediately with nature. So when you, on the first day, the first part of your exercise is to connect with nature so you can calm everything and you can start learning how to look within, because everything on the outside is not going to solve your problem. You have all the answers in here, all your belief system. It is a rediscovery, Prima, because everything you need is in here. You just need to rediscover it. Re-believe in yourself.
Yes. the true version of you, the authentic version of you, that version that you're helping me create, for sure I would believe it. But I'm sure if I'm still in this old story, things will be harder. But I think it's a process from there to the other side. And maybe what is practiced now or faked now, when you get here, will be true and you will believe it. And I love this journey. Could you roll out for us, maybe in your life or a life of a client, scenarios of where people have made like really massive leaps of this process? You know, like what has happened for the people you've worked with that you can think of that you want to share?
Absolutely. So first, I just want to talk about this hiking club I started, which I no longer do, but I ran it for 7 years. It was for students at a community college from age 15 to 60 plus, depressed, anxious, stress, panic attacks. Never knew this existed. I connected them with nature, and when they were out in nature, I had them say to me, and I'm talking about immediately, Prima, within the first hike at the
Wow.
end, why do I feel better? Why am I not worried? I feel happy. I feel good about myself.
Wow.
They couldn't understand why. And I said, nature is a natural therapy. It is your home. It is where you learn how to be worthy. Or I shouldn't say you learn how to be worthy, you find your worthiness because it is in there. It is only blocked. For myself, if an example, same thing, didn't think I would ever be where I am, never on a podcast, never running my own business, never having my own money, being self-sufficient, looking at goals and reaching my goals. I was not empowered at all, but I was hiding everything. I was hiding my hurt, my wound from my childhood, right? Being that therapist to my mother, did not realize all of that affected me. But when I started doing the work and connecting with nature, I started feeling things, Prima. I'm like, okay, what is this? All right, what's going on? This is not normal, but it is normal what you feel. I found my voice. I speak my truth. I don't speak or talk how other people expect me. Again, I don't drink the Kool-Aid to make other people feel good. I look at my own needs first. What are my needs? How do I fill my cup? And with that, again, I felt empowered. I became more confident. I can say I love myself, which is huge. Love is so important. I feel worthy, and I'm here to spread that message. Let me tell you about, I'm going to change the name here. It still starts with an S, but Sue. Sue was very depressed when she came to me. I've worked with her twice, but when she first came to me, very depressed, overweight, wasn't eating well. She was that person in the mirror who was disgusted with who she was looking at. So much so that she just wondered, like, why am I here? Like, what good is this life? Is this what life is supposed to be? Am I supposed to feel like this? I don't feel good enough. But what we did is started meeting. She lived locally, started meeting on the trail, shifted her entire diet instead of processed food, started eating more holistically, just fresh vegetables, even frozen vegetables. She started moving. You don't have to go to a gym. It's about movement. She started doing the work and the tools that I gave her. And she started loving herself and seeing her authentic self. But do you know where those problems came from? From her mother. We got to the root of that problem. Her mother put her down for years because she was never good enough to her mother. Her mother complained about her weight, about how she looked continually as a child. Imagine that. Here it is, your mother. It's almost like a hammer and a nail, right? That mother is just hammering you deeper and deeper into self-doubt, lack of self-worth, lack of self-love. But when we worked on that, she transformed her life. She saw the positivity. She had her own business that she opened.
Wow.
She served herself first. And with serving herself and her own needs first, she's able to help others, her children that she had, her grandchildren.
Mm.
It's huge. And I mean, I have another one, Aisha,
Mm.
again, depressed, stressed, exhausted all the time because she was not filling her own needs first, filling everyone else's. She
Mm.
was so depleted that she didn't even know how. She didn't know how to get out of her own way.
Wow.
And she, again, she has her own books that she's written. She, has a great family, but was always giving, giving, giving,
Mm.
and needed to start working on herself and what she needed. And she transformed herself and did a 180 and includes the mindfulness. Nature, loves to bike, so goes outdoors biking.
Mm. I love what I'm hearing, because what I'm hearing is this story you're telling yourself every day. And that story is making the choices. It's picking up the
Mhm.
groceries, it's picking up the pizza, it's picking up the alcohol, it's picking up the habits. It's that story is accepting the body you're in, the financial status you're
Yep.
in, the marriage you're in. Once that story changes, now this helps you change your behavior. You said something about the woman whose mother had caused her or put her in this place, which kind of
Yep.
which kind of dropped me into inner child type of
100%. That's
scenario.
what it's, yep.
Yeah. Are
Yep.
you saying that in there, in the things you do, is actually healing the inner child?
Yes.
Is it part of the work?
Yes, it is part of the
Wow.
work. So when I talk about healing, I'm talking
Mm,
about the inner child work that we need to do because
mm,
all of this negativity and fear-based insecurities are part of our story based on that inner child work that we need to do. And a
mm,
lot of times, because we've pushed it down so much throughout our life, we don't recognize it because
mm,
we are kept safe with that false story that we tell ourselves, but we're not safe because we're not free. It's holding us
mm,
hostage.
mm,
It's not showing you who you are. You can't
mm.
find who you are anymore.
You've settled, like the way I look at the work you're doing is whatever the story is, the version is, the inner child has made you to be, it's become like part of you now. You don't even see it.
No. Yep. Yep.
Wow. And it's from here that it's literally running the show. It's holding the microphone every day. It's driving the car. It's everything. All the decisions are made from a place where you're telling yourself a story that doesn't serve you, that is not even true about who you are.
Right.
That crazy.
And Prima, let me just tell you, what you tell yourself
Mm,
affects your physical health. And
it
what you
does.
feed yourself affects your
Mm,
mental health. It is a cycle. And that's
mm,
why listening to your body, what am I feeling right now? Am I hungry? How many times do
mm,
we overstuff ourselves? If people go to my website, they're going to see my story. I used to
mm,
medicate myself through junk food, cake, cookies, ice cream. I still
wow.
worked out. I'm thin. It doesn't matter. I still have a story. We all have a story that we need to heal, that we need to stop believing and understand it is not us. So that's how I used to self medicate. I know somebody, a good friend now, who medicates themselves through over exercising because
Wow.
they're never good enough. So it doesn't
Mm.
necessarily have to be alcohol or drugs or gambling. It can, or food. It can be over exercising.
It
So
can
people can,
also be overworking, Nancy. Now I'm thinking
100%.
about it.
Yep.
I know someone who overworks themselves to the bone. And when I look at them, I'm like, really? What makes you think you have to work till you're dropping dead? You know?
Because they're not good enough. They don't feel
Mm.
good enough. I'm going to give
Wow.
you another example of what I used to do, Prima. I used to run from goal to goal. I
Mm.
would reach a goal, and once I reached it, never celebrate. I'd have to go to another one. Do you know why? I didn't
Mm.
feel good enough about myself. So I had to keep setting goals, but the goals were never enough until I started doing the healing work. Then I stopped the goals. And it doesn't mean I don't have a goal. Like my business is my goal to grow it. But what I mean is I don't need to run from goal to goal to try to prove myself. I know who I am. I know I'm worthy. I know this works. I've worked with clients. I worked on myself. And what I want people to, women to understand, and for you to understand, is that no one wants to feel pain. And when you do the healing work, it is a part of that. You have to go back and heal some of that pain. You will feel some of that, but I can tell you, it is the most liberating, most exhilarating feeling when you release that. When I was going through it, I was crying for no reason, couldn't figure it out. And then I started doing that reflection of this. I did this journey on my own. I had a good friend that I would connect with, and I used to call myself the Debbie Downer. You maybe heard that term. And I'm an upbeat, lively, enthusiastic, motivated person, but not during that time that I was healing. But I needed somebody who would just listen. I didn't need advice from her because I knew what I needed to do for myself because I had already done a lot of work. But again, it is so liberating and freeing. And that's how you get to the other side. Nobody likes to, everyone wants it status quo, right, Prima? Let's just have everything be smooth and easy. But that's not how life is.
It's not.
It's not. And you learn from that. You learn from that if you take the time to stop. And if you don't learn from that, you keep repeating the patterns until you do.
Nancy, I know you do hiking experiences, and I want you to talk about it because I want the listener to kind of know how they can get involved. But before that, really the greatest and biggest gesture you can do as a listener is to pick one human being that needs to meet Nancy and share this with them, share this recording. The goal of this podcast is that we bring this work in front of you so that you can share it with a human being who it will change their life. Like, that's the premise. That if somebody has work that can help you, I want you to give yourself permission to move forward and book a call and reach out and do something. Because sometimes I feel like the information is out there. We all know how to lose weight, but look around. Just because we know doesn't mean that we're doing. This podcast exists because I know you have the information, but somehow you haven't become the thing you can become. And so I'm really hoping that by bringing people on who can tell you the things and offer you a call that you can actually get out of your own way and do it. Because I feel like the greatest enemy is the mind. You're getting out in your own way and not allowing yourself to take the step. And so one of the things you can really do, one is actually move forward with the expert and book a call if they are speaking to you. But the other most gracious thing you can really do to support this podcast is pick one person in your life who you can bless today with this recording because they are the perfect woman who looks in the mirror and says, I don't like what I see. They wake up every day, they're in fear, they're anxious, they're depressed. They're amazing in everyone's life, not so great in their own. They are out of regulation. And it's like they just have this story they are telling themselves that is not serving them. Get this link and send it to them privately because you have more power than you think you do when it comes to changing another person's life. Nancy, I would love for you to talk about the experiences. I can't wait to hear about the hiking experience and how it works. I can't wait to hear about the coaching experiences that you do virtually. Tell me more about how you help people today, how you support people behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So I offer guided hikes here throughout New England in the United States. I actually started something new next week. For the first time, I'm doing mountaintop meditation. So we actually hike to a summit and I do guided meditation. And the guided meditation is a 20 to 30-minute guided meditation. I've also started, because I believe animals are an important part of our lives and they actually mirror us because they are self-sacrificing and they give love unconditionally. And when we look at them, we can find our unconditional love for ourselves. So I started a hiking for dog-friendly hikes for people, women that have dogs, who want to go out in nature as a group with other like-minded women and connect. So that is new. I do bi-weekly hikes. You can check it out on my website at brightpath.net. That's BRITE path.net. I'm actually this October on Cape Cod in Massachusetts is one of my retreats. The last one for this year, for 2024, it's Inner Nature Journey Retreat.
Wow.
And it's great. It's kayaking and hiking, connecting with like-minded women. We're going to be at the ocean for the sunset, doing some deep inner work, eating nutritionally through the weekend, and realizing that we are all connected. We are all one. I believe that we all have wisdom to share with one another that we can learn and grow from, because this journey never ends. It never ends. There's always something new that we can share or learn with each other. And I just want to say that you are a gift to the world. It's time to start peeling away those layers, okay, of fear. Okay, time to stop drinking the Kool-Aid, like I said, believing what society tells you, believing your old story that is, filled with unhappiness and not fulfilled. Time to look and find the answers that already wait for you within. Time to stand up for yourself and see just how capable, confident, and amazing you are. It's time to say yes to you. It's your time to take care of your needs, to be the woman that you've always been meant to be. And
Nancy,
Prima,
I want to understand if you do anything virtually. I believe those experiences are in person.
those experiences are in person, but virtually, I have one-on-one programs. So I have two different programs. One is a 12-week program, and that is Free Your Mind, Ignite Your Confidence. That one is, again, one-on-one, 12 weeks, but I will be doing a group one, which is discounted starting in the fall. That will start in either the end of September or October. And then the other one I have, it's a big one because it's a lot of deep healing. And that one is the Path to Renewal. And that's a 6-month one-on-one program. And also during the week, every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have a free discussion that we do called Women's Wisdom Wednesdays. 45 minutes of deep discussion, and then last 15 minutes of guided meditation where women come together and we talk about a different subject. Again, the ego, fear, relationships, things like that. And you can actually find that on my website as well, the link to join that group. It's a private group. Yeah.
I would love to give all the links that Nancy has mentioned, the different ways to get to her. Nancy, I would love to encourage people to book a call with you if they want to jump into any of your paid experiences. Is that acceptable?
Absolutely. I call them a breakthrough call. Yeah, because this is time to break through and find yourself. And let's get you on your path to living your real story.
I believe there's different people listening, but there is someone who's just ready. They're just tired of living like this. And they're like, you know what? I've been praying. This is like, I honestly believe this podcast exists because people have prayed until God kicked me out of the bed and said, Prima, go build that thing, because people are crying, people are asking, and you have the talent and the skill to get people and interview them and help them tell the world what they do. And so I believe, Nancy, that I exist because there is someone crying and praying about this. So if you're the person you've been crying and praying, God has answered, book the call. I honestly move, book the call. You do not need any more confirmation. Book the call, sit with Nancy and just have a chat. Maybe the high experiences are not for you, and maybe they are. But if you're feeling the desire, the drive, if somebody has shared this link with you, they've taken their time out of the day to share this link with you, that means they've thought about it and they know that you need this. And so I would love to encourage you, if you feel like, I don't know what else, but I feel like Nancy has been speaking to me since she started, book the call. We can know all of the things. We can give you the information like you can get on a million other podcasts. But until we help you make the decision, you could be in the same place if you don't change the story. And so I would love to encourage you to book the call, because for me, when I move, things shift. So move. I encourage you to move. And that looks like click on the link and book the call. But if you're not there yet, if that's not the place where you're at, it's okay. Go to the website, look around. Get to her social medias, look around. Get to the free resources, look around, grab the journal, start where you are. One step is better than nothing. Give her a follow somewhere. It's better than nothing. Just start. We're going to put all the links in the show notes, and hopefully you can scroll there and pick the best choice for where you're at and where you believe you want to start from. But again, as I said, the best thing you can do is think of one human being that needs to meet Nancy and share this with them, bless them with a chance to rewrite their story. Nancy, I'm at a point where my faith has been tested, and I don't know whether to take another leap of faith. I am just torn in between. Life has just beaten me down, and I don't have the same strength I had 20 years ago. I want you to speak into them, give them some breath to actually get up and do something about their life, because I believe it's never too late.
It absolutely never is. And you know what, Prima? I can guarantee you every client that I have worked with, whether through a breakthrough call or after our first session, has left feeling better and uplifted within that 1 hour of us talking. And you already have, again, everything is waiting for you to rediscover and release all that baggage that you have been carrying. It's time to let it go. You are a beautiful sculpture. You don't see it, again, because you're living in the mind. That mind is so heavy. And that inner child, that story is so heavy. But it's time for you to become confident. Feel your worthiness. Accept yourself. Feel that joy, okay? Because it's ready for you. Let go of that lack, because you can let it go sooner than you think.
I sincerely believe that the old story has served you now. It's done its job. There's a new story that you can get to write. But that new story lies in the unknown. There is all this gap. Your old story is right here. It's been with you, served you for I don't know how many years. There's this new story here, which is your freedom, which is a place that you get to meet yourself and wonder how you ever lived in this world. But in between is a heap of fear, a heap of the unknown, a heap of all the things that are practically looking at you saying, no, who do you think you are? And I am here to say the how doesn't belong to you. What belongs to you is the what. I want that story and I'm open. That's all that belongs to you. The how does not. The how belongs to Nancy. She is holding it. So, but it's up to you. If you want to stay here, that's still fine. It's a choice. But if you know you don't want to stay here, if you know you're just tired of looking in the mirror and going, who is this person? I don't like what I see. Then this is it. This is the calling. Move. There's a story here. And the person, the author of that story is you. But there is going to be all this in the middle that Nancy will help you to clear so you can ultimately meet yourself, your authentic self, and write that story that hopefully when you're no longer in existence, years and years, but that is the story we remember.
It's time to get off the gerbil wheel to just exist. It's not about existing, just existing anymore. It's about becoming and rediscovering. I see beauty. I really do. I truly see beauty in my clients, people that I meet. I feel where they want to be or what they're suffering through. But you have to want to, like you said, Prima, it's a choice. You have to be ready. And even if you don't, or you're not sure if you're ready, or you're on the fence, reach out for that breakthrough call. Let me talk to you. Let me see if I can help you, even just give you some tips, just to help you start working towards that and seeing if you're ready to make those small steps. It doesn't have to be a big step, just small little steps lead to the bigger picture, the bigger, new, beautiful, unique, incredible, intelligent woman that you are.
I sincerely believe so. Where I come from Uganda. So if you never heard of Uganda, it's well known for poverty and people are dying of hunger. No power, no electricity. That's kind of the story. When I was born, I was meant not to go to school because that was it. Like girls were born and the best chance you had was to be someone's wife. Hopefully you made it. And so education wasn't a choice. But somehow, in a sneaky way, my parents decided we were entitled to education. And so they stood against the whole clan and said the children have to go to school. And they were shamed for that. They were put down for that. But my parents decided our children have to go to school. And so just like that, I ended up in school. I looked around. I didn't like anything that was happening in school. I didn't like science. I didn't like history. I didn't like geography. I hated it all. Now, my dad had looked us in the face before and had told us that if we were trying to become mediocre, he had no hesitation telling us to go and look for our own father. Like, if you think you'll be average, I have no hesitation but to send you back to your mom to tell you who your dad is, because my genes, they don't produce those kind of people. He told that straight to my brother after he had come third last of class. And I just knew that I just couldn't exist. I had to show up and be successful. There was one problem with my dad's plan. Success to him meant doctor, lawyer, engineer. And I didn't like or even appreciate that that is what I wanted. I wanted to be a business person like my mom. I took my mom's DNA. But my dad looked at that straight in the face and said, no, business is not success. My dad didn't know better. He had known better to know that we were supposed to go to school, but he didn't know better. There is something else beyond being a doctor, beyond being an engineer, beyond being a lawyer. And I was in that place where I had to either be successful the dad's way or risk going to look for my own dad. And I did live my dad's life for quite a while. I recall when I became 25, I've always just counted years in terms of like 25, 50, 100, like that. So I've always looked at my life in 4 quarters. So 25, that was the first time for me to stop and say, is this the life I want? I believe I'll do the same at 50. I believe I'll do the same at 75. And I believe I'll do the same at 100 if I get there. So I asked the question, Prima, is this the life you want? And the answer was no, because I was stuck in a telecom job, being an engineer, the last thing I wanted, monitoring nodes, running reports, and I was just miserable, unhappy. But I didn't know what else. I just quit and I started a business. I had no idea. And the business worked quite well. I was happy. My dad had no idea that I wasn't in the job because, the gifts were coming and I was going home and I was parking the car and she's in the job, I didn't tell her where the money was coming from because the dollar is a dollar. It's in the same color. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And so I recall when I got 25, I said, Dad, I'm just done living your life. I didn't tell him. I started living my life. When COVID hit, my bricks and mortar had to close down and I was jobless. I had left my job. And I had no idea. But you need to understand how bad it is in Uganda. Power is on and off. Nancy will tell you that before we did this recording, I had to move her up hours because I didn't have power.
Yeah.
The internet is up and down. Like, I'm even lucky that it's still on. Everything is just against that decision to move online. I was like, okay, Prima, you're going to go online and pretend to give advice. Who is going to listen to someone from Uganda, a country with nothing? And I was like, Prima, you're getting in your own way. Move. And I started like that. So I believe that I am not supposed to be here. I believe that my story is not something that would have served me ever. If I clung on that story of I come from Africa and blah, 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 if I was still clung on that story of I'm supposed to be someone's wife, if I was still clung on that story of I'm supposed to do bricks and mortar because that's what works here, where would I be? I want to share this message because there's nothing that qualifies Prima to be building a podcast that is going to be the biggest and grandest in the world. Nothing. Zero. So you do not need proof to claim a new story. You do not. Right. But you do have to say yes. So the story you have is the manifestation that you have. A new story it's up to you. Do you want the story or not? Yours is to say yes. The how does not belong to you. It is my firmest belief that the how does not belong to me, but the what belongs to me. As I said before, the biggest thing you can do to contribute to the calling on my heart is to share this episode with one woman who could use some peace in her life. One woman who could use a makeover. One woman who could get her new story written. One woman that you know the world has happened to, and you know what, you just think they're tired, they're done. A woman that you believe needs a new realization. You know, one of those friends you had, like I can go back and see one of my friends from high school who were so ambitious and so alive, and now I look at them and I say, what happened? And they're like, motherhood happened. And I'm like, really? The person you feel died, if I can use that word, and you know that they could use a comeback to themselves. That's the woman we're after today. We would love for you to team with us and bring them on board. As usual, of course, comment, share, review, follow. I don't know the options that the platforms give you, but I would love for you to be a part of this. I'd love for you to be involved. I would love to see you as we grow this, because we started from 1 subscriber, you were here. We're now at 500. It's been 2 months or 1.5. And 10 years later, I want to look back and say, do you remember where we started? And I want us to one day meet and in person hug and celebrate this work, because it's not me. I just have the calling and I said yes. And you get to be my help. Appreciate you dearly. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Nancy, thank you so much for honoring our invite to be on the podcast.
Prima, thank you so much. You are a gift to the world, and there are other people out there. Everyone's a gift to the world. As you said, you just have to say yes. Take that leap of faith, because it's there for you. Everyone has the opportunities, no matter where you come from.
Till next time, have a beautiful day.